Hello and welcome to a Monday edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani. We are recording this just after 12:20 Eastern / 6:20 Spanish time, and we are going to do El Dia Después. It's a new segment. We're going full steam ahead. We're going strong with this new segment. I'm really enjoying it. We basically get to talk about lingering thoughts from the game and whatever happens from the post-game show until now. And quick apologies about last night's audio. I know that there were some people who did not enjoy the audio, and I don't blame you. There was some connection issues, and Matt is well aware of it. He's going to try to get that fixed ASAP, and hopefully by Tuesday's podcast, which I have planned with him, everything will be A-okay. So with that out of the way, Lucas Navarrete is here to join me on another Monday segment. Lucas, how you holding up? How you doing, man? How's everything in Valencia?
Everything as usual, still in late August and until the middle of September. By end of September, we're still full in summer here, so everything as usual here.
You guys should, I know everybody in Spain escapes to the coast. What you guys should really do is escape to Canada late August, because in Canada, it's comfortable 20 to 23 degrees, and it's kind of cooling down, and it's a good spot to be. But Lucas, what is your, I guess, initial takeaway from, almost 24 hours removed now from the game? What is the biggest talking point that sticks out to you?
Just glad that Madrid got that late goal and got the points. It wasn't an easy or a particularly brilliant game, in my opinion. I didn't enjoy the second half from Madrid at all. I didn't think the team was in full control of the game. Espanyol had a few chances here and there. I thought Vinicius was a little bit too confident with his play, sometimes with his decision making late in the game during the second half, trying to dribble past 2-3 opponents, dribble into coverage instead of finding the open man out of those some counterattacks. But obviously some other positives apart from the 3 points. Mainly Camavinga, I thought was brilliant, grew into the game during the second half, and obviously also Rodrygo's presence off the bench. I think both of them were huge, and track record and statistics are showing that both of them are really brilliant and effective coming off the bench. So hopefully they keep it up.
I think with Vinicius, the thing with him is that, yeah, there are definitely instances where he forces the issue too much. He could probably simplify it at certain times, maybe let the game flow through him rather than forcing his will into 3 defenders and forcing things. However, I think that's the give and take you accept with Vinicius, because he can do things that no one else can do when the game is locked. So it's okay for him to go into some sequences where he's forcing it a little bit, because you know that you're going to also get great moments from him within the game. And I think that's just kind of the give and take you accept when you get him. And I actually thought he was still pretty good overall in this game, and he was important, obviously, in unlocking. And we had a lot of transition opportunities. I know, to me, my perception was similar to yours, Lucas, in that, I thought we started good, which was kind of the opposite of how the Celta game went. And then we let Espanyol, we kind of took our foot off the pedal a little bit. We let Espanyol kind of grow into the game. I think that's a combination of both Espanyol waking up a little bit, being more aggressive with their press, but also us being a little bit too comfortable at times. I still think this team has a lot of, how do I put it, clearly individual talent. But there's structural issues at play that I think we're just so good that it doesn't matter sometimes that we're just breaking down structurally. A classic point is the goal itself, right? But the goal we conceded, rather. And but having said that, it wasn't just a goal. There were definitely moments just trying to figure out. Everyone with a brain can see that Tchouameni is amazing. Mm-hmm. But because of his profile, he's different than Casemiro in the sense that he's not going to be the anchor, the one who's constantly putting out fires the way Casemiro did. But clearly by design, Ancelotti is asking him to play ahead of Kroos and Modric at times. And that's interesting. And, if you're going to do that, obviously it has its benefits. He set up Vinicius on the opening goal, and there were other sequences where he's running into the box off the ball, trying to drag defenders away. If you're going to do that, I think you really have to make sure that you have your structure in place. Because I think what happened when Zidane sent Casemiro up the field often was that then we just had no one defending, and so that things like that I think we have to really figure out, and I think we have to figure out quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Tchouameni was obviously his play during that first goal was an instant upgrade over what Casemiro could have or would have done in that same situation. I think Real Madrid were missing a player capable of doing things like that. But also, out of that game overall, I thought that I feel a bit reassured in my thinking that, for these games you don't need Fede Valverde playing on the right wing. I know you're more okay than I am with that particular role in this particular context, but I need more. I need more production from my right winger in these particular games. I don't think he was a threat at all. I think the Ancelotti, by the way, needs to be given credit for his substitutions. I thought all of them were spot on in what the team needed, other than maybe using Hazard instead of doing the Carvajal for Vázquez substitution. Other than that I'm totally okay with the substitutions. But by the way, I didn't think he was going to introduce Camavinga and remove Valverde from the game. But anyway, I wasn't that happy and satisfied with Valverde's, not with his performance, but with his role overall in this game. And I think that ultimately Rodrygo is going to have to be more important than what Ancelotti would probably like against these kinds of teams.
The interesting thing about Fede is, because you mentioned that you weren't unhappy with his performance, but more about him playing there.
Yeah.
When you think of Fede's most memorable moments from that game last night, like almost none of them were on the right side. He was like coming over to like help on the left side defensively, or he was drifting centrally in midfield. And I suppose if that's what Ancelotti wants to do, like let's say if you're sending Tchouameni up front, maybe you want to have that Fede Valverde cushion who's kind of... Now, I just don't think that was happening, though. That's the thing. So it wasn't happening that consistently to say that that's what the game plan was. But I will say, like, I think I'm surprised we've seen so much Fede at right wing, generally speaking, because it kind of started off as an experiment last year, right?
Yeah.
There was a patch against, like, I think it kind of ended. Like, you can kind of see the turning point in the season last year. PSG first leg, before and after. That's kind of the time where Ancelotti was like, I'm done with Asensio, man. He doesn't contribute to anything. And he's trying to find solutions, so he's putting Fede Valverde there, and obviously Rodrygo then comes off the bench and changes the game. But I thought maybe that if he's going to go that route, this is going to be more of a thing that Fede plays on the right wing in those games. I didn't necessarily expect to see it over the course of a season, away to Espanyol. But I also think, obviously, the interesting thing, Lucas, yesterday was that Rodrygo comes in, he plays on the left, and we just overload that left side and put everyone there and just make things happen. And I think, because I'd be curious to know what you think of this. It almost feels like no matter what the game situation is, what the game state is in the second half, we can throw on anyone and it just helps us. Like Ancelotti last night said after the game that Camavinga is a player that gives you energy when the game is broken, and that's what he did last night. But if you bring on, let's say like Rodrygo started on the right yesterday, Fede came in. If you put Fede in that situation where the game is that open, we had so many transition opportunities. If Fede comes in like with full energy at that point, he's going to make a big difference too on the right wing. So I don't know. I guess like I keep thinking about that quote that Ancelotti said when he first was hired as manager, when he said, it doesn't matter who starts game, it matters who finishes them, which is like, to be honest, more true in the NBA when you can make unlimited substitutions, and not, I don't know about football, but I'm starting to see that part of it now. So I don't know, in terms of like just the game changers off the bench, Lucas, that's a theme.
Yeah. And about Camavinga and his quote, I think that Camavinga is probably a better player than what Ancelotti explained in that particular context and that particular question. And I'm sure that Ancelotti thinks is same way too. I think that Camavinga can give you both things. He can give you energy and transitions and all that, but also creativity. And we saw it when Real Madrid needed goals during the last 10 minutes of a game last season. I think he's created enough to break things apart and just be a spark of the bench, and also obviously a starting for Madrid. I don't think he's also, or he should be limited to being an energy player, an energy and muscle and physical player. I think he has more than that into him, and I'm sure that Ancelotti feels this way. But just wanted to emphasize a little bit that I think that Ancelotti probably missed a little bit on that particular answer to the reporter in terms of Camavinga. I think that he's shown to be a tremendous player in both aspects of the game, the physical part of the game where he can provide energy, and also the creativity and technical side of things.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that Hazard and Asensio weren't used last night. You did mention in passing maybe Hazard could have made an appearance. I don't even know how Hazard helps in this game. He would have gone to the left, and I don't even know if he upgrades Rodrygo. The answer is no, actually. But
yeah.
So I've seen so we're not even using the subs we have in offense, and everyone's still crying about the signing or lack thereof. The ones we have are not being used. Now the argument is that maybe the ones we have are not that good. That's why they're not being used, and I get that. But again, so you're not going to take Vinicius or Benzema off last night. But Rodrygo, obviously, there's a huge case to come in. You have a bunch of midfielders you need to accommodate who are going to change the game, like Camavinga, like Ceballos, who's becoming more and more important as the season goes on. After 3 games, the reason I say that is because I think he will be more important now that Casemiro is gone, that Tchouameni is going to play deeper roles. I've seen some crazy names being thrown out there, Lucas. Names that are even worse than Jovic and Mariano. People are getting desperate. I don't want to call anyone out, but first of all, what is this? What is the latest update on that? What's the August 29th? How many days do we have left? Ancelotti said that September 2nd we'll know what Asensio's decision is. Yeah. September 2nd, forget about it. You're not signing anyone if Asensio leaves, even if you wanted to. But what's the latest?
Nothing. Even though the club would like to receive some serious offers or serious interest from other clubs, I think that Ancelotti's latest quotes during the Champions League draw go in that direction. I think that Ancelotti and the club are trying to find a new club for Asensio. To me, I don't think the interest or the offers are that real at this point. With United potentially signing, what's his name, Anthony from PSV, probably kind of gets rid of their interest in their potential or reported interest in Asensio. And to me, Asensio is likely going to stay. And I don't know. I think that Ancelotti's quotes saying that he's looking for some moves or some options here and there. It's just the club's way of telling Asensio, you're expendable. You should find a new club. You should find a new home, in order not to see him leave as a free agent. But last night I thought it was a bit worrying in the depth regard. I think that Real Madrid had all their attacking players available. It's not like the first 2 games when Rodrygo wasn't there. And needed a goal by the last 10 minutes or so, and the one and only substitution we saw was Carvajal for Lucas Vázquez, after obviously Camavinga and Rodrygo had already came in. So I don't know. I think Real Madrid could use some help. Asensio will probably get that kind of role, or Hazard down the road if Asensio ends up staying. Hazard is a given that he will be there this season. But I don't know if they've moved the needle that much for Real Madrid off the bench, considering that we keep reading, and Asensio will likely be quote unquote a bit frustrated with his role if he's going to stay. So I think that Real Madrid will potentially lack someone in the attacking side of things off the bench this road, and I'm a bit worried with the depth there.
Anthony from Ajax, by the way. I didn't want
Anthony, yeah.
I didn't want to cut you off
Ajax.
because I didn't want to cut your train of thought off.
Sorry, yeah.
But what's clear to me is that last night specifically, if you had, man, just give me a name that we've been linked to as a striker that we didn't sign. Like,
I don't know. Cavani could be thrown there. He just signed for Valencia. He would be the decent signing for Real Madrid, in my opinion. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if you had Cavani last night, who are you taking off for him? You're not taking off Benzema, and I'm not taking off Vinicius if I need a goal.
If you need to go all in for a goal, you're probably taking out Tchouameni.
Maybe, but at the same time, I think we've seen also in football history that just taking off all your midfielders or a bunch of forwards is not necessarily a good idea. You need to have some structure. Even if you go ahead of goal with 10, 15 minutes left, you can't just sacrifice all your structure for that. And also, I think Tchouameni contributes to the attack. You need someone someone deeper roles to create. So anyway, we can argue that back and forth whether he would have made sense to even put him on in a game like that. And maybe there are people shouting in their car right now as they're listening to this, like, we should have came on for this player or that player, whatever. But I do think the argument is not so much about last night. It's about there are going to be games where we have to rest Benzema and Vinicius, and that's when the argument comes in. And then I would ask, are Hazard and Asensio good enough? If Asensio leaves, we're not signing anyone. We're leaving it really, really tight. I had two questions for you, Lucas. Question number one. Would Asensio have played if this was after the transfer window and we knew officially? Okay, so this was a message then to him.
Get
going, buddy. Yeah.
I have to believe that Asensio would have come off the bench last night had he not been linked to several teams and had him without his contract situation and all that. I think this was a message, yeah.
Question number two. How much is the Arribas dream rekindled now after Ancelotti was at the Castilla game and Arribas scored?
I don't know. I didn't see Arribas' performance. From what I'm reading, he was pretty great. I don't know. It's just a matter of him getting a few games here and there and making the best of his opportunity, I'm guessing. It'll be tough for him to get this chance, though. I think that we're at least one or two injuries / suspensions away from seeing this opportunity for Arribas. But last year we saw Peter Federico playing. Other seasons we saw Marvin Park playing. So maybe he gets a chance sometime. Real Madrid will be playing 9 games in October. Obviously, some of them will be against huge opposition like Barcelona. I think Atletico is in September. But anyway, in some of them it's clear that Arribas won't play. But maybe when the Copa del Rey is there right after the World Cups, some veterans might be tired / injured or whatever. We see Arribas playing, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes in one game, and he makes the best of his opportunity in that game, scores, / gives an assist, / praise grade, contributes and make an impact. And from then on, Ancelotti starts trusting him. It's just a similar case to the Jesse situation during that first season with Ancelotti. I think Jesse, the chips fell into the right places right at the right time. Jesse was given the opportunity to play 10, 15 minutes off the bench when Real Madrid needed a goal, ended up scoring and ended up, getting more chances to play in that season until that devastating knee injury. But I don't know, we're still a bit 1 or 2 injuries / suspension away from seeing Arribas, I think.
Probably. I do think it's more alive now than it was last week, though. Because since last week, Ancelotti came and said no new signings. And then, literally the same day, hours after he said no new signings, even if Asensio leaves, he goes and watches Arribas' play. So that, even if it's just 1%, Lucas, I'm taking that 1% and I'm going to hold on to that 1% and just hold on to hope. I think he would be useful. If he gets... if we just give him a little bit of a run, my hot take and prediction would be that he would actually be trusted later on in the springtime. That's what I wrote about this weekend after the Castilla game, was that if you're going to promote Arribas to solve your problems in April when everyone's injured, forget about it. That's not happening.
No.
But if
his confidence first, yeah.
Yeah, if you start incorporating him now, just give him baby steps, a little minutes here and there in non-important minutes, even like when we're up 4-1 against Celta, for example. and just build his confidence then. And by April, if we do need him, maybe he actually can contribute in a big game off the bench. You know what I mean? That's my argument.
You know, a stretch where I think as Arribas could get a shot at playing, maybe if Real Madrid take care of business and get, say, 4 out of 4 wins in the group stage, and the other teams, end up being mixed out, and Real Madrid end up achieving, the first spot in the group with, say, 2 or 1 game left in the Champions League. October is going to be a crazy month for Real Madrid. I could see Arribas getting a shot at playing some minutes in those particular games, in the late games in the Champions League, with the team having already achieved the first spot in the group. I could see that, and definitely the tools are there for Real Madrid to accomplish that target. I think the group is very manageable for Real Madrid. They should cruise through this group stage, and I think that will potentially give Arribas a good opportunity to prove his worth. And if that happens, by the way, I think he has a very good chance to maybe start and play full 90 minutes. So obviously that's a big chance for him.
Great ideas. I agree, but bro, I'm already calling it. We're gonna lose to Celtic. We're gonna lose to Shakhtar. We're on the last match day. We're gonna be like, it's like once de gala. We need to win that game, and we're gonna struggle.
Remember Sheriff last year?
Yeah, Sheriff last year.
Modric and Kroos playing 85 minutes in a 3-0 game against Sheriff. Yeah,
we're gonna be like second place in our group, and then we're just gonna beat PSG, Manchester City, Liverpool with no problems after that.
Sounds about fun, yeah.
Yeah. So, like in years past too, you could argue Copa del Rey was a place to earn minutes, but that's not the case anymore after they changed the format, because you're not playing like in the round of 32 or 64 against like FC High School from Sevilla. Like it's like you're literally playing in the round of 16. So like you only have one game, so you can't like screw up for one game and then come back. Like, so you're starting to see like the last few years we play good players in those games. I mean, everyone's a good player, but you know what I mean. Like, so those minutes are gone too. What was the other thing I wanted to ask you? Maybe that was it. Oh, I just wanted to comment that between Peter and Arribas, Peter is the more pure right winger. But I think Arribas is the better player. So I just wanted to put that out. But it'd be cool to see Peter cameos too. But I think Arribas is the better player with the higher ceiling.
But it'd be cool to see a pure right winger playing in Real Madrid's right wing, because we saw last night, man, Rodrygo is so comfortable on the left. I still feel like he's a patch on the right. No matter how comfortable and how big of an impact he makes on the right here and there in some occasions, in most occasions, actually, he's still a very key contributor for Real Madrid on the right wing. I still feel like he is suited to play on the left. Obviously, that chance is gone with Vinicius being an undisputed starter for Real Madrid. But it will be nice to see a pure right winger in the squad playing on the right wing, instead of these players who can play on the right wing, but are maybe half or 2/3 of the player they can be in some other positions. Especially I'm thinking about Fede and Rodrygo in these cases. Yeah.
Like our entire right side is just makeshift. Yeah. Even Lucas Vazquez, who is not a right back, is like that. That's, and everything goes to the left. All the subs last night were all right-sided players. It was Fede, Modric, and Vazquez. And even Asensio, you could argue that Asensio would be better on the left wing. I don't know. Sure.
That's debatable. Obviously,
it's debatable. That debate was very present with Gareth Bale too. Everyone would argue, is he better on left or right? He's kind of good on both, and it depends on which night you catch him on. But I kind of wonder, Lucas, do you think if we had signed that player we do not speak of anymore, who rejected us, I wonder if we got a glimpse of it last night, in the sense that would he have played on the left the way Rodrygo did? Like Rodrygo and Vinicius kind of on the left together with Benzema there, everything just going through there. And I don't know. I'm curious, because he's another one who wouldn't have been a pure right winger also.
Are we talking about Gnabry? I don't know who we're talking about. No, in all seriousness, I don't know. I think the offensive line would have been pretty interchangeable, I think, with with Vinicius, Mbappe, and Benzema. But obviously, that ship has definitely sailed, and
For 3 years anyway.
for 3 years, yeah, or two or whatever. I'm just terrified of the possibility of spending another summer thinking about whether or not he's going to sign for Madrid. But anyway, yeah, I'll be curious to see if Asensio ends up staying, which is what I'm predicting. I'll be curious to see his role, because usually both the clubs and the players are a bit reluctant of giving or playing relevant minutes during the last year of their contracts. Obviously, that isn't the case with huge stars like Mbappe or whatever, but we saw it with Khedira, for example, in his last season for Madrid. He was a key player for Ancelotti the year before. Also, the knee injury happened there, and the players have an argument that if they're not going to be around and they're not going to have a contract extension signed, they might actually want to slow things down in order not to risk a serious injury, especially when they have already suffered one, like Asensio. So I'll be curious to see his role going forward if he stays. I don't know how willing both the club and Ancelotti and also Asensio will be willing to, I don't know, play key minutes or some minutes here and there. I'll be curious to see that.
You mentioned Khedira. Just shout out to Khedira, because I was watching some of his highlights today, because 10 years ago today was the day where Real Madrid beat Barcelona in the Super Cup. It's the one where Ronaldo does that flick over Piqué's head, remember?
The flick over Piqué's head? No, I don't think I remember.
You remember if you saw it. It's on managingmadrid.com. Go watch it.
All right.
Of course you remember. It's the
Modric debut game?
Yes, Modric debut.
All right.
And Khedira has that one run where he dribbles past like 5 players and goes into the box and shoots. You remember that?
I think I remember that one, yeah.
I was just I thought of that because it was 10 years ago today. I was watching that.
Fine player, cool professional, I think, Khedira. Obviously had his weaknesses in his game, that's for sure. He was not a star, but a cool player, a cool professional, a cool dude to have in Real Madrid. I think he was very useful during those 3 years.
He was. That was like 3-4 years before I became a journalist. So I don't really remember what people thought of him or anything like that. But just among my circle of friends, he was very polarizing. Like, one of my friends swore that he did nothing on the field. He's like, I don't understand what he does. He does nothing. Why is he there? And then some other friends were like, dude, he's unsung hero, man. He works hard. He does this and does that. So,
I lean towards the last argument. I think it was crucial in Mourinho's team in order for other players to shine, especially with a creative defensive midfielder like Alonso. Obviously Alonso his positioning and all was great, but he wasn't the fastest guy, recovering space and in transition and all that. And I think Khedira, especially in the Mourinho years, in the 3 Mourinho years, was a crucial player. Maybe not that much in Ancelotti's first season, but obviously that season is when he suffered that ACL injury. Yeah. So, but the first 3 years with Mourinho, I thought he was very, very important for Real Madrid. Yeah.
So, any concluding thoughts, Lucas, before we wrap it up?
No, just looking forward to the first home game of the season against Betis on Saturday. We'll see. I'm predicting Rodrygo to start in that game, and we'll see if Real Madrid use that boost in offensive production with him in that position. I'm looking forward to the game. Neither people nor the team should take Betis lightly. I think Betis have scored 3 wins out of 3 games for a reason. They're a quality team, and people should look forward to that game, because they will put on a fight for sure.
Lucas and I will be back on Thursday, as we are every Thursday. We take questions from patrons over on patreon.com/managingmadrid. It's a world famous mailbag. If you do not have access to that yet, you're missing out. Please go over and join Patreon so you can get access to that, plus other bonus content. We have another one coming out tomorrow exclusively on Patreon, so we'll see you on the inside. Lucas, thanks so much for joining the show. It's great Monday as always with you, and we'll chat Thursday. Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.